The single biggest denominator of success among the best racing drivers and among the best athletes in the world is competitiveness. Yes, you heard me well. Competitiveness is the word. If you have competitiveness and a lot of competitiveness, you have an advantage over most of the other drivers, most of the other athletes in the world. Why? Well, think about it. Competitiveness at the end of the day is root in our genes. We had to compete since we were, chimpanzee. When we were fighting for food, we were fighting for a place to to live, a place to sleep, or we're like fighting for for female or male. We're like trying to get ahead in society, trying to get the best opportunities. And it's been like that for hundreds, thousands of years. I'm not here to explain you all of that. You can find videos on YouTube, or you can ask ChatGPT about the evolution of humankind. But if you go through history, you will see so many occasions where competitiveness was a key factor, even when you were talking about wars and all sorts of conflicts. Competitiveness was a way for survival. I've seen that in racing is exactly like that, as in any other sport. I mean, I've only done racing, karting, single seaters and karting all my life. I haven't done any other sport professionally or competitively, so I can't really talk for other sports. But I've read lots of sports biographies of tennis players like Novak Djokovic, Andrea Agassi. I've read also football players' biographies. I've read boxers' biographies, for example, from Muhammad Ali. And I've read a bunch of different other biographies, and this is always something that really fascinated me, trying to understand what really separated the greats from common people or just the average athlete. And what I found is that they all had an insatiable competitiveness desire. Competitiveness was part of their DNA. When you think about it, it's really the case in racing. You can always try to be like, no, competitive is not that important. At the end of the day, what counts is the talent. Is like having a good engine, having a good chassis, and that's not really like. But believe me, I mean, yes, obviously having a good equipment is important from the engine side, chassis side, and being part of a good team. Obviously having the great amount of experience behind your back and just having a lot of laps, having the track time for sure. You're not gonna win if you have zero track time, but 100% competitiveness versus if you have 100% track time and zero competitiveness. I mean, if you're gonna place two drivers, driver A, driver B, one, as I said, with zero competitiveness but 100% track time, and another driver with 0% track time but 100% competitiveness, of course the one with more with track time is going to beat the driver with zero track time but high competitiveness. It's obvious. Even if you're super competitive, you can't compensate the skill level. You can't compensate the track time, for example. Let's not fool each other. What I'm saying is that if you have two drivers with equal amount of track time, which by the way is really hard to do. You would have to count every single hour, every single lap that each driver made, because it can't be like, we both started at 6 years old driving, and now we're both 12. That's bullshit. You can never exactly have two drivers with exactly the same track time, because each driver will drive in this different amount of laps, different amount of sessions, different amount of days, different amount of races. And also beyond the quantity, there's also the quality. So I have a lot of things to talk about this specific topic, but you're gonna see this in another video. But the point being is that compared to drivers, and the two drivers, let's imagine they have two very similar, if we can't say the same, but let's say very similar track time, what very, 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 very distinguishes them. Apologize my suboptimal English, but the thing that distinguishes the most is their competitiveness. Yes, there's a lot of other things related to mindset, related to their fitness level. There's all sorts of things which are also very important, but the competitiveness is key. In fact, if driver has no drive, if he has no internal drive to succeed, to be the best, well, how can he achieve that? Yes, you may say you may still be P1, still win the races by just pure skills by simply being the fastest, etc. But guys, karting is not like that. Karting is a contact sport. You know that. You see the races and they're like 10 drivers, 15 drivers in the field. European Championship race, the top 15 have pretty much the same speed. In order to win, it's not just required to be fast. All those 15 drivers have pretty much the same speed, pretty much the same equipment, pretty much the same talent. It's probably there's like very small difference between each other, but the thing that makes a difference is how competitive they are. If you have the motivation, the drive, the desire to succeed and to be P1. But the thing is that it's not like you arrive at the track and you're like, okay, today I'm going to be competitiveness, let's be competitive. Well, that's not really like how it works. I'm about to say something that I don't even know if it's exactly like that, but people who think that you either born competitive or not. And then there's people who say that you can become competitive. There's always the dispute between nature versus nurture. So nature is when you are born with something. Nurture is when you are being fed, being raised in a specific way. So if you are born competitive, that's a thing, but it's rare that a kid at 0 years old, like when he just as soon as he comes to the world, he's like, hey, this guy is super competitive, I'm super competitive. It's very unlikely. By the environment we're surrounded, by the way we are nurtured, by the way we are raised by our parents, we either become competitive or we don't. And I think this is very, like I was reading a book the other day, it's called Mind Games. I really encourage you to read this. And it talks about the story of this rowing world champion and I think silver Olympic medalist, yes, very successful rower, and she was talking about how the fact that competitiveness is not really born. You're not really born with competitiveness. You're raised, and that has a massive effect. Is massively affected by actually your environment. In fact, what she was saying in this book is that they have found out that, for example, athletes that were raised with siblings, therefore either like a sister or a brother, normally having an older sibling. So for example, let's say your older brother is 10 years old and you're 8 or 6 or 7 or 9. When they saw that someone had an older brother or older sister where they would play, where they would compete against them, normally these younger siblings, so in this case the athletes, they will grow up to be more competitive than single child athletes, for example, without any siblings. And this actually was very, very fascinating, and it resonated with me massively because, having the experience with my brother, even though I am the elder, and he's the younger, I was noticing a lot that we were like all the time competing, because we are separated by 2 years. I'm 2 years older than him. And with Leo, we've always been competing since we were like 4 years old or 3 years old. We were like always been competing every time, even when we were going at the on holiday, we were at the beach, on the seaside, and we were like playing all sorts of games, like playing like rackets, playing playing with the little balls, swimming, all sorts of things. We would like all the time be playing tennis table, playing football, like playing all sorts of things. And also when we were going on the racetrack, we're trying to beat each other, like lap time wise, overtaking wise, and I think that was a massive help to me and also to him. And yeah, I believe that what I read in that book was actually true. So if I was not born with a brother that was very close to my age and that was challenging me, now I see this nowadays a lot. Like when I see drivers that have a older brother or they have a younger brother, normally I'm like, this guy is going to deliver. It's just automatic, and normally it works. Normally it's the case when I see drivers. But don't be discouraged and be like, oh, I don't have any brother to have played with when I was young, therefore I'm not going to be successful, I'm not going to be competitive. No, don't think like that. There's still a large portion of athletes and of drivers who are still getting very competitive, get very, very great results even without having any siblings. But the point being is that, yes, when I read in this book, it's like, yeah, that's basically nurture. That's basically what she said, is that I believe the second philosophy, not nature, so that it's not how you are born, it's how you are raised and environment. And imagine if instead of having one brother, you have two brothers, that you are like, or like, whatever kind of siblings, or even your sister, like that you are playing and trying to compete against them. Or even maybe, let's say you have also some cousins. Maybe you have like your neighbors. They have the other children, and they're like all playing and trying to beat each other. You're definitely gonna grow being massively competitive. And then it's just like and that's becomes part of the DNA. It's now part of my DNA. When I, for example, nowadays I'm for even for random shits, like I'm like playing with my girlfriend sometimes with cards, and I'm like playing with cards, and if I'm not winning, I I become crazy, and she makes fun of me for that. But I get moody, I stop talking, I keep thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, very, very upset, even though sometimes it's just maybe down to chance, Some games, there's like, sometimes it's not really luck, but some card games, there's a lot down to chance and the hands that you're dealt. But yeah, it's this is something very, very common to me. And also when we play tennis table, or sometimes even with my girlfriend, we play the reaction games. So for example, the blaze ball, etc. Like you're playing with those reaction lights, and you're trying to get and to be honest, I'm fast. I consider myself very fast, but she's also unbelievably fast, and sometimes she's able to beat me. Like majority of the times I win, but like sometimes she's able to beat me. It drives me nuts, and I'm like, I have to do it again. So it's like she's like always making fun of me, and I have to feel like I always win in the end. Otherwise, I'm not gonna be having a good mood for the rest of the day, because I'm gonna be like, come on. Like, how can I get beaten? She's not even an athlete, And so yeah, this is quite a fun thing. But this is what I read through the book that I was mentioning. Actually, it's this one. This is the book. It's called Mind Games. It's really nice. I have all my notes, but it talks, as I said, about all these athletes and how how crazy competitive they are, even when they're playing board games like Monopoly, or they're playing like Trivia. What's the name of the game? It's like Trivia Pursuit. Yeah, it's not very common here in Italy. But I know it's common elsewhere in the world. But yeah, long story short, you need to develop competitiveness, guys. And if you are not fully competitive like you see other people are, try to take more competition, more challenges, not only related to racing, even just like random competition with your friends, with your classmates. Try to take more competition. Try to just like, I'm not saying you have to kind of create a fake competition. You have to try and go out there and put yourself in the ring and try to, expose yourself to failure, expose yourself to, to not winning, because, it's not like every competition you're going to win. But that's good, because losing is part of the learning process. Losing is going to make you stronger. Losing is going to make you be upset with yourself. It's going to make you hurt. But that's a really good thing, because it's going to signal in your brain, okay, I don't want to lose anymore. And I see I see a lot of times nowadays drivers that are just like a bit weak mentally. And when like I see they're losing, they don't give a crap. Like, okay, I just lost. It's like, but I'm not saying that you should be moody like I am, or like many like other drivers I know. But you have to be I think you should be quite pissed at least, and you should try to use that as fuel, as fire, as burning fire, to fuel your ambition, desire to then bounce back stronger in the next competition, in the next race, etc. I was racing against Leclerc, Norris, Russell, and I was even teammate of Charles. And I remember it was like, it was very, very moody when, not very moody as other drivers, but yeah, it was very upset when things was going wrong. And now you can even see that in Formula One, like in the team radios, when things are not going well with the Ferrari strategy, which unfortunately Ferrari getting it right many times for him. For example, the last race, I was at like Hungaroring, that it was, this video is being recorded, today is 8th of August. Now, I can't know exactly when it's going to be released, but you saw in Hungary, like after he did a massive, unbelievable pole position in front of the two McLarens, a crazy lap, and then he was like leading the race in the first stint, stopped, and he's still leading the race after the first stint, during the second stint, but then he lost completely the pace. Piastri overtook him, Norris overtook him with the strategy, and then even Russell overtook him on the track, so from P1 to P4, and he was very upset in the radio. And I remember Charles was like, we're always competing. You have no idea, because we spent 1 year I spent 1 year in Formula Medicine, like training in Formula Medicine in Viareggio. And okay, that was already after Charles was in F1. No, before that, we were going a lot of times to Formula Medicine when we were both in Formula 3 in 2015, because we were in the same team, in a Dutch team called Van Amersfoort for Racing. And we were going a lot of times to Formula Medicine to train physically, mentally, etc. And the training day was very long. You know, we would have to get there like at 8:30, and then you'd have like 3 hours, 4 hours in the morning, and 4 hours again in the afternoon. And then we would have like 2 hours, but it was not just physical training, it was like also mental training. It was a lot of stuff, but it was like very full, like a filled day, and it was like a full week or 5 days, etc. And I remember that we were so competitive that we were like playing tennis table with him and another couple of drivers, and it was like we were doing like in Italian it's called chi vince regna. It's like we were playing tennis table, ping pong, you know, in the lunch break. So we were supposed to rest. We were supposed to kind of relax and kind of like sleep sometimes, because it was like a very intensive morning, then it would be a very, very intensive afternoon to save some energy. But no, we were like, after having had lunch, we would go and play tennis table like the whole lunch, and we would like so competitive with each other, like we couldn't stand losing. It was like humiliation, like losing. And the good thing was that we were all at pretty much the same skills, and so what made the difference was like we were all damn good, I think, playing tennis table, but the difference was just in the head, trying to the mind games, trying to be consistent, etc. And I remember like we were so mad when we were losing, and yeah, it was just crazy. I remember this as if it was yesterday. I can't remember, and you know, you for sure can relate to that. And also we were doing like so we were like going on the kayak sometimes as part of the program with Formula Medicine, and that by the way were the best years. Like I had such a great time, and so we were like. By the way, at Formula Medicine, we're all like racing drivers. So it's like me, him, and a bunch of like 6, 7, 8, 10 other drivers. They're all different kind of categories. Some were also in F3, some others were in different categories, some were in karting. And so like it was really cool. We would go, for example, like kayaking, and we would like make a very long like kayak along a river, and we would try, or like it was like a lake, yes, a lake close nearby from Medicine, and so we were making the race, you know. When we go in the way back, so once we turn around to go back to wherever we had to go back, we were like making a massive race. So we were like so tired and like pushing like crazy, but it was amazing. I remember we were so competitive, driving ourselves to the bone just for having the pride of having won, or at least not to have the humiliation, because when you lose, it's a bit of a humiliation. And so it's like when you like being competitive is not only seeking the win, so trying like aiming for the win, but it's also not losing, because like it hurts. If losing doesn't hurt you, we have a big problem. Losing has to hurt you, and that means you're a competitive person. If losing doesn't hurt you, we have a big problem. Losing has to hurt. And so when you are, before starting a competition, you are gonna be like, shit, I don't want to lose, I don't want to be humiliated, so I'm gonna give my maximum. And then shit, I want to win, you know, I want to be the best. So you should have both at the same time. Like I want to be number one, I want to win, and I don't want to lose. So I'm like, that's massive force that should push it. If you are just like if there's indifference, so like, okay, if I win, oh, if I lose. If you have indifference, that's really bad. So this is just my opinion, you know. Then other drivers, other coaches, other people will give you different opinion, but that's my opinion. You don't have to have indifference. You need to have so much competitiveness. And again, you can raise it. Like even ask ChatGPT how you can increase your competitiveness. For sure, she's gonna give you massive. Is ChatGPT a she or a he? Anyways, I'll consider her a she because she has like a lady voice when I talk to her. So yeah, ask ChatGPT. I think she's going to give you great advice on how to increase your competitiveness, specifically for karting or in general. But you can also look at maybe some YouTube videos, but I don't think there's any videos on competitiveness related to karting. Probably this is the only one. If you want to build competitiveness, there's a bunch of different ways, but just take on more competitions, even in sports. Like even if you're not too good at it, like when I was a kid, this is the thing, I was not only doing racing, I was also, my mom actually put me into many different sports, and I think that was good. You know, it was not like I was diversifying and that was hurting my race. No, actually that was good because it was giving me a lot of hand-eye coordination. It was a lot of, it just gave me different abilities. And then, for example, I would be skiing in the winter, So I would do skiing competitions until I was like 12, and some of those I was even winning them, and I think it was kind of good. But of course, I mean, I had to stop at some point, so I couldn't do it. But I kept doing a lot of skiing in the winter. And then again, it's an individual sport, So it's like you against the stopwatch. If you don't ski well, you lose. Then I was doing tennis. I was doing tennis tournaments in the summer. So normally there was like a summer break. And it's like I was doing like the summer camps tennis. I don't know if that's common in your country, but like here in Italy, it's quite common to do like the tennis summer camps for like young like after school. Once school is done, I mean like in July and August you would go and do the tennis camp. So that was really nice. And now again at the end of the week there would be like a massive tournament, and like a massive tournament among the like the club, etc. And you would be playing against all kids, and then there would be like a trophy in the end, like a proper one. And I remember like one time, so I won a couple of times, and then out of like four, and one time I was not good enough yet, so I didn't even get close to it. But at one time I lost in the final, and I was so upset, honestly. Like I think that's a bad losing. Like I don't encourage you to be like that. I was like, I could not accept it. I literally left the racket and I ran away, and I just like ran away back home. I was like, I think my dad saw me and he just picked me up, and he was like, I think it was that my mom, or I don't remember, but they were like, oh come on, go and like congratulate and like shake hands. I was like, no, I'm too upset. I'm like, fuck that. I don't know. I was like, I can't remember. That was, as I said, I don't want to be an example like that, but I'm just telling you. So I was so upset, even if it was just a random shitty tennis tournament that nobody cared. I was so into it, and I was like, shit, I cannot lose. It's just part of my identity. I cannot lose. And that was in my years where I was really, really pushing and winning a lot in karting. As I think it was the year of the World Championship of the year before. But yeah, and also I was playing football. I was playing football until 12. You might be like, oh, how could you be doing all those sorts of sports? But no, they were not the same. They were not overlapped. In the summer I was doing tennis. In the winter I was doing skiing. During obviously but I would still do karting. I would still be doing karting most of it, like even the summer and the winter. But like I would always find the time to go a bit like skiing or tennis. And then I was like playing soccer until I was 12, and I was playing a lot, to be honest. That was like a team sport, so it was a bit different. Like, but again, there was a lot of competitiveness, trying to be, among the selected ones to go and do the matches. Even though, again, I was keeping 80% of the matches because I was always at the racetrack in the weekends. So I would do I would do all the trainings pretty much. Then I would lose the matches, so it was a bit upsetting. But still, like, it was nice competition there too, like always trying to win. But I prefer way more the individual sports, so like playing tennis or like skiing. But most of everything I would prefer racing, because again, it's you against all the others. It's not a team sport. I didn't like team sports so much. I was okay playing football. Like I just liked the fact of I was the striker. Basically, I was in offense and I was trying to score goals. So for me, it was always a bit like me against the others. It was not like my team against. It was like me against the goalkeeper, me against the defenders. So I was looking at more in in individual sports that rather than a team sport. To be honest, it was quite funny because like my teammates were complaining with me for not passing the balls to them. I would like get the ball and I would just like run away with the ball and try to go score a goal. They didn't really like that. They really were a fan of that. But that's, I mean, like whatever. Like that was me, and I was like that. Yeah, hopefully I gave you some perspective on what it means to be competitive. I didn't make up any stories. It's like they really are like that. You can ask my parents, or you can ask, when I talked about the stories about Formula Medicine, you can ask guys at Formula Medicine. It was really like that. Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing time. I hope you can increase your level of competitiveness, because that's going to be key in improving your performance, I believe, and increasing your overall chance of succeeding. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you think. I mean, everyone's going to have different opinions. I'll be happy to continue the conversation and hear your opinion and, hear your stories, to be honest. I think the stories are more important than opinions to me. Everyone is going to have different stories, so I'll be happy to hear them out, and perhaps we can relate to something.